Okay, so I'm going live to tell you basically that we're not going to be able to do a show tonight because Greg is at a conference in a hotel that where his laptop refuses to connect to everything. Hoss is dealing with some family issues. I'm not going to tell you what those are related to, and I probably had the worst day I've had in 2 months for brain headaches. Pretty terrible. It sucks. It really does. I can't think very well, and it's a lot of pain. I will just take a few minutes to relate to you guys something. I talk to a lot of college football fans. You guys usually might hear me talking about the guy I work with that's a Penn State guy, another guy's a Wisconsin guy. But I talk to because I live out of state. I live in Minnesota, Big Ten country. I do talk to a lot of other fans of a lot of other teams, so you get a good perspective on kind of what's going on with Nebraska. And one of them sensed that I was kind of depressed about the whole thing, and he said, "Well, the good news is that you have hit this point and you've got frost, and now you can start rebuilding, and you shouldn't be sad about that as much as you should be relieved that you can start the recovery process." Um, which I don't know if is that the right word? I use recovery a lot in my regular vocabulary because of what's gone on in my life. But I guess I would say that that is a very good point. I realize that we're coming up on Indiana, a game in which we're favored, and a game in which I don't, in 16, 17 years of covering Nebraska football, I'd say I can't remember a time in which this fan base could use a win more than right this weekend because wow, it's really gotten. I mean, I watched the comments across social media, and uh, you know what? I would go ahead and take some responses. Okay, so we got Jack the Ripper. Is Big Red all that important since we may be on the brink of some kind of nuclear war and the world debt market appears to be melting down? Yes, it is because it gives us a reprise from those things. Because sometimes when you have to deal with everyday life, uh, you need somewhere else to look. I can tell you that from personal experience. I realize that sports, in the big scheme of things, isn't as important as everything else that we deal with in our lives, but it gives us something else to look at and escape from our regular everyday lives, which are full of they're full of all sorts of horrifying things when you come down to it. Uh, I know you guys probably know that I'm an author. I've written a memoir. I wrote a book for heart attack survivors. I've written a lot of other stuff, uh, and I keep a list. I keep a running list of in my OneNote repository of all the ways the world is going to end. Wow, this went off Husker football really fast, didn't it? But I keep that list with me to remind me just how precarious life is at all times. But let's see what else. A win would change absolutely everything. Kingsley Gibbons says that it would be nice. It'd be oh, I'm trying to. I had another. I had another. Well, I had a customer episode, and I really can't tell that to you because it's private for that customer. And I was going to relate it to you about how winning solves a lot of problems, and it really does. I will tell you this joke. Yesterday morning, my wife texted me uh, because it's cold here in Minnesota. We've hit freezing. She texted me, "Frost killed our garden." And honest to God, I got that text, I looked at it, and my immediate thought was, what the fuck is Scott Frost doing at my wife's preschool killing her garden? That, honest to God, was the first thought I had. I thought, what in the hell? And then, of course, obviously, it's not Scott Frost. It's the winter coming. Let's see what else. other news real quick. I think that, Trev Albert's comments this week have been interesting. Um, it sounds like they're going to do a lot of renovations for the Memorial Stadium. I think every one of us who's ever been through a game there would like to see seat backs for every seat in that stadium, because I talk to other people and you go and I'm even when I realize I'm old and crusty, but it's kind of painful sitting on those seats for 4 hours. All right. Thank you, Linda, for your prayers. I'll take anything I can get. Let's go with Jack the Ripper again real quick. The Denial River seems to be flowing through Big Red Country. How is NU favored in this game? The geniuses in Vegas have been wrong all year long. Well, because Indiana isn't that great either. They're really not. Indiana has, oh, come on. See, this is the part of the headache issue. Their statistics are not very good. Their rushing offense pretty much doesn't exist. And that would be the one thing, if you were going to look at a team that we could beat and get a win from, it would be Indiana right now. We'll see what Mickey Joseph has been able to put together in terms of motivating a team. And I think that if you guys pay attention to what I talk about all the time, you know that I'm not a big schemes guy, and I'm not a big X's and O's guy. I'm big on, you have to have your head in the right place before you do anything. And Nebraska, this is chance for Nebraska to get their head in the right place before they play Indiana. I think we'll see if Mickey Joseph can work some magic there and be able to get these guys so that they feel more confident about what they're doing. I know when you look at a football team and they're not confident, they are always slower than they are otherwise. So when we watch our beloved Huskers play and you look at them and you go, well, the linebackers are slow, the defensive backs are slow. A lot of times that's not just sheer athleticism, that's hesitancy, because they don't know what they're doing. They're not confident in what they're doing. If they're confident in what they're doing, they're going to play that much faster. I'm going to do this for maybe another 5-10 minutes. What are your thoughts on press conferences from the coaches this week? How much do we buy into their good practices speech? Well, I don't think you buy into anything at that point. I think you just really kind of just let, sometimes you just let life come to you and you don't anticipate it. And as a guy that's recovering and really, the heart attack, the brain injury thing screwed me up for the rest of my life. And I have to figure out how to live day to day. That's really, when we say things like live life to its fullest, carpe diem, seize the day, live every day like it's your last. Well, when you live like I do, where you're not sure every day is going to be good, or like yesterday, I had a great day. And I probably thought it was such a great day that I did too much. And today I'm paying for it, because that's how it goes. That's why I woke up with an extremely bad headache this morning. Trying to work on drugs to work this out, and they've done better, but it's clearly not infallible. Where was I going with this? You can just sit back and think, I'm not going to anticipate anything. I'm just going to watch and see what happens. And I really think that's the way that we just approach the rest of the season. It's kind of like looking at it and go, okay, show me something. Let me see what happens here. It's not really come on. Bill Bush, our defensive coordinator. See how slow I am? Bill Bush, our defensive coordinator. I think he said one thing that I thought was intriguing. And he said that he approached this as an opportunity. And I kind of looked at this and I thought, Mickey Joseph has really been handed a pretty bad situation if he wants to be a head coach or the head coach in Nebraska, to try to dig out of this hole that he's been given. But Bill Bush said something that reminded me of how I approached my IT job, where I always liked being called in when everything was blown up, because if you fix it, you're a hero. Bill Bush said this is an opportunity for him. And that's how he approached it. And that's a really good attitude, to look at it and go, you know what, this is my chance to show that I could be a good defensive coordinator. And it really is. It's a huge opportunity for him in his career, even if he isn't at Nebraska next season, because the guy's had a fairly good coaching career, I think, and he's been around and he's done a lot of different things. And this could be, I mean, you're a defensive coordinator. That's one step away from head coach and being paid way too much money and getting a big buyout, But it is a really good opportunity. When you approach things with that attitude, I think that affects everybody around you, when you're looking forward to doing that. James Borden, I'm more interested in the tweaks Bill Bush has for the defense. Well, it'll be interesting to see, and I think the thing key that you're going to watch for against Indiana is this: can they line up quickly? Are they still moving around? Are they still looking at each other when the ball is snapped? Because what we've seen for the first few games of this season is those guys being really confused on defense. And the calls obviously were getting in late, and there was probably way too much complexity about what they were doing, and the coaches were waiting too long to get the calls right. I mean, if you simplify things, put it this way: what would you rather have, a complex defense where people might be confused about their assignments, or a simplified defense that the offense can take advantage of if they recognize what you're doing, but where everybody knows their assignments better? And I think that, 99 out of 100 times I go for number two. The one time I go for the number one was the day I was having a really bad day, kind of like today. And I'd lost my mind about how I was going to approach things and do things. Okay, Eddie Thorne. Nebraska has to beat Indiana, Rutgers, Purdue, and Illinois. Minnesota and Michigan looks like sure losses. Wisconsin, Iowa look like wins. I like your enthusiasm. I will say that. If I had to watch the team that I've watched in the first 4 games of the season, I would say that we're not going to win another game. And we're going to go 1-11, and it's going to be like the worst year in Husker football history. But I do appreciate your enthusiasm, and maybe my attitude should be better in terms of looking forward to what might happen, or maybe having faith that Mickey Joseph can get anything out of this team. M. Gabowski, thanks for being here again, says, is this Nebraska's best chance for a win? I'd say yes. And the reason why I'd say because of the lack of the Indiana Hoosiers running game. I mean, excuse me. Listen, our defensive line and our whole defense have looked so bad. And I think our defensive line is probably undermanned a little bit. They're not a lot of depth. They don't look like they've done very well. They're not going to get beat up physically, I don't think, by Indiana. If they do, that's kind of a sign of the horrors to come. But because of that statistic, or that strength and weakness comparison on both teams, I think it is Nebraska's best chance for a win. I also think Nebraska can. Obviously, we're going to watch the line Saturday night to see how they do, because that's going to be the tail of the tail for the rest of the season. I do think Nebraska should be able to run. I mean, right now, Cincinnati is on TV against Miami. You look at Cincinnati, they don't have an offensive line. Joe Burrows gets the hell beat out of him. And they made a Super Bowl. They're an intriguing team. They should give us hope, because they don't have an offensive line. They still made it to the Super Bowl. And by the way, there was a play right before I walked in here where Tua got hit really bad, and they replayed it, and it was clear he had a brain injury, head injury, concussion. It was terrible. It was horrible. So I hope that he is okay. James Warren of Nebraska goes 111. Is Scott Frost still the pitcher of record? I think that, let's talk about that for a minute. I think at the beginning of the season, I said something about one of our podcasts about how when the Nebraska fan base turned and realized that Scott Frost wasn't the answer, that we would turn all at once. And I think that has happened. And I'd really prefer we just moved on and started focusing on Mickey Joseph. But the honest to God truth is there's probably stories still going to come out, and there are bad stories about Frost coming out. And there's no getting away for this for Scott Frost, which is sad in a way, but I don't feel sorry turning too much because, $40 million buys you a lot of hankies if you want to feel bad about your life. Plus nobody else really did this to him. Yes, he's going to be the pitcher of record. Mickey Joseph will, I think, I think no matter how this season ends, you have to look at Mickey Joseph and say, that guy had the guts to take on a team as a head coach. That is a lot, I think, to just go, well, here's a stick and you get the shit end. And what do you think of that? And he went ahead and did it. So okay, what else we got? You guys with the urban stuff. Oh, you know what? We're going to take this from Jack the Ripper. On a positive note, how will Nebraska basketball do this season? Maybe another 20-loss campaign. That's another one that I think that really you just don't project. Just watch, just relax. And I know most people don't give a damn about Nebraska basketball, and even less a damn after the last season we had. I do think we will have, I'm missing the Blake Keitha. We're going to have two big guys besides Derek Walker, and I think that will make a huge difference about Nebraska basketball. And they will be playing some games, I think, that'll give them some tune-up chances. And I still have faith in Fred Hoiberg. Linda says, John, call it a night and get some rest. That's probably damn good advice. And I think I'm going to do that. So I thank you, the people that have joined me so far. I do need to rest. Doing this stuff, having a brain injury, trying to, deal with bad health issues that vary from day to day. It's kind of like losing a football game last week. You need to make sure that one doesn't affect the next week. And that's more like saying, I need to make sure this doesn't affect tomorrow. So I thank you all for showing up for this very short session. Take care of yourselves. Go Big Red.